Want a website with unmatched power, speed, and control? Try Bluehost Cloud, the new web hosting plan from Bluehost, built for WordPress creators by WordPress experts. With 100% uptime, incredible load times, and 24/7 WordPress priority support, your sites will be lightning fast with global reach. And with Bluehost Cloud, your sites can handle surges in traffic no matter how big. Plus, you automatically get daily backups and world-class security. Get started now at Bluehost.com.
The following podcast may contain discussions supported by science that may be considered dangerous to some listeners and conspiracy theorists. Discretion is advised.
The 3 Down Greencast is brought to you by Lucky Bastard Distillers, Saskatchewan's premier distillery, and by the Pile of Bones Brewing Company, brewed in the heart of Regina. Welcome to the 3 Down Greencast. You are listening to the internet's only House Shorts Appreciation podcast. I am Joel Gasson with John Fraser, as usual, as we got a few things to get to, as the Riders won a interesting game over the Edmonton Elks last Thursday.
That game is like anybody that reads your Good, Bad, and Dumb, or anybody that like follows the Sickos committee or doesn't quite understand what we mean by we're sickos and we love dumb football. The ending of that game is dumb football, and that's what we're here for.
So we're going to touch on that. A little more outside of the ending, which is spectacular, and we will talk about the other. The other sort of 58 minutes, though, leave a lot to be desired, and a lingering question about this team's ability to rise above inferior opponents, I suppose, is a conversation to be had there. And this week, the Riders are taking on the Stampeders, and not must-win, obviously. Nothing really is must-win, and when we're talking about mid-July. But a win would be really helpful, I think, in terms of distancing themselves and making sure they're in a very good spot to finish in the top 3 in the West.
Certainly.
But before we get to all that, a conversation we had last week that I don't think any of us really expected to take off that much, because it was more of an aside, I believe.
Yeah, it was kind of like we were kind of rambling off the top. We had our open, we were kind of having some fun with it, but much like Never Get the Lettuce, it seems to have resonated with our 5 listeners.
Mm-hmm. And that's, of course, the conversation around house shorts.
Right.
For the record, right now, I am wearing my black house shorts, which are the more beaten up pair.
Yes.
Because the shirt I am wearing, and because podcasting is a visual medium, I am wearing my Sergio shirt that you had made, I believe, what was that, 2-3 years ago now?
2-3 years ago is when I had those shirts made, yes.
And it's that shade of blue that's kind of the same shade of blue as my other shorts that I don't like wearing all the same colors. So that's right. Basically why I decided on the black house shorts tonight.
You can't be like wearing a unitard. Like no. Your tiny little baby daughter can, but you know, adults wearing unitard, not a good look. So that's actually funny as you described your outfit to me. That reminds me of the one episode of my former podcast where my co-host revealed that he was in his tighty whities because his house was so hot. So I thought that's where we were going on that. No. And see, now for me, I am slightly breaking the house short rule that we talked about last week. Fairly busy day off for me today, running around with the kids, meeting up with a good buddy for lunch. So I have remained in the fancy house shorts for most of the day to give them a test drive, really.
Yeah, and it's important to note that I was at Costco earlier in the week, having to pick up a few grocery items. I looked through the section here, unfortunately did not see the fancy shorts at the Regina Costco.
You know what? If I go out to Saskatoon Costco and I happen to see them, I will pick some up for you because, again, I've been wearing them all day, and I do not feel like normally my brain is trained. The first thing I get home, that's it. Take your shorts off, get your house shorts back on. But today, that's why I'm still wearing them right now, breaking the Lacey's rules with house shorts. I'm still wearing them because they are that comfy. The only weird thing is when you go to go pee. You know, you're used to, you unbuckle, you kind of pull it down a bit and you whip it out. Well, you have to, like all athletic shorts, you kind of have to pull them down. And I'm always a little sensitive because I watch my second youngest son, Connor, I guess my youngest son, second youngest kid, because he's 4, whenever he goes pee, he just brings his shorts down so his ass is hanging out. So I'm always cognizant of, I'm like, okay, am I pulling these down at the right angle that nobody can see my butt from the back while I'm out here in public? Because at home, it really doesn't matter. But out in public with fancy house shorts, that has been a mental hurdle to overcome. But outside of that, I have been in luxury and comfort the entire day, and these are perhaps the greatest things ever invented. And it is rare that I sit down here in my comfy little basement without house shorts on, but here we are in my fancy house shorts, and I don't know, like, I feel like this might be like trying to find the Ark of the Covenant in your Indiana Jones here, Gas, but these are, like, I don't know if there's a place online you can buy them, because you need these. They are fantastic, and they are as good as I thought they were.
I mean, I don't think you're breaking any rules. I think it's a division of house shorts. Are they traditional house shorts? No. But that's okay. I mean, you're not wearing something that requires a belt. You're not wearing something that has a zipper and a button. Like, it's very stretchy, and if they're comfortable, then I think they qualify as house shorts that have multiple roles and not just necessarily, I wear these at home.
Right, so if that's the problem, though, is Lacey's like, I don't want you to wear them out by just wearing them around the house. They're intended to, actually give you some fashion sense and not have to wear a belt. So I am actually looking forward to wearing them, and then I'm actually, unlike other sports, I'm filling in for the public address announcing for the Rattlers on Saturday, which that's going to be a ton of fun. Love the Rattlers organization. We've talked about our love of the CEBL here on this pod. But the nice thing is, because unlike hockey that expects, the PA announcer to wear a fucking suit, I'm like, so I can just wear, like, shorts and sneakers, which means I will be, for the first time in my career, doing a broadcast in house shorts. Or not a broadcast, I guess. Some announcing role in house shorts, so I'm very much looking forward to that.
Absolutely. I mean, and to this point, I mean, most of your actual broadcasting per se has been in less than, not really during short season, right?
Right.
The Hilltop stuff a bit, but I mean, more so especially like anything with the Rush. I mean, that's in the middle of winter, so...
Yeah, Rush I've always worn pants for, although there have been a couple spring games that when I was doing radio only, I would actually change into shorts in the booth. Like, I'm famous for, like, especially now that we're on TSN, and I'm hoping we're going to be back with TSN, and sounding like there's some momentum on that for next year. I will keep a golf shirt in my bag and switch to the long sleeve shirt and toss on the golf shirt just for comfort, for maximum comfort when I know I'm done my on-camera work.
Yeah. I mean, if you're not going to appear on camera again, I mean, whatever.
Right, exactly. I might as well just do it naked. Like, but,
whoa, I don't know.
Whoa, I don't want to distract anybody on the floor, but or just terrify.
I mean, I was going to say I don't know how Cody would feel about that one.
Cody's such a fucking pro. I don't even think he'd notice. I could probably.
There's a lot of things I think a pro can get away with. I think he would notice if you weren't wearing anything.
Oh, 100%. He would notice I wasn't wearing anything, but not a soul listening would be able. You know what? Maybe one of these days I'll test that. I'll just start, like, mid-broadcast changing into house shorts and not tell Cody what I'm doing.
Yeah. I mean, why not?
Let's go for it. Let's just hope that they don't, right at that moment, flip to the camera that's always behind me and Cody that you only see us on pregame.
And then you'll be like Sam Harrell in the locker room.
Good times indeed.
Not so much good times for the Riders this past week as they beat the Edmonton Elks technically.
Right. But it was good times for us, and
yes.
And the Fraser curse. We may have found a loophole in the Fraser curse here, Joel Gasson. I will let you continue.
Yes. So we will talk, of course, about that game, sort of big picture, what it means, and look ahead a little bit to the Calgary Stampeders matchup this week. But before all that, for the Pile of Bones Brewing Company, John, what's in the glass this week?
So with our cocktail of the month, we reached out to our friend slash sponsor, Bryce from Lucky Bastard Distilleries, and he asked us, hey, what do you guys want to drink this month? I'm like, throw me some gin. Like, gin feels like something you can really do in the summers. He's like, well, we have this Hascap gin. Do you want to give that a try? I'm like, yeah, sure. Let's give it a whirl. So what I usually do when I start creating these cocktails I make for the videos is I just drink it like on ice straight. Mm-hmm. And I took a sip of this Hascap gin and went, this needs the smallest slice of lemon. And outside of that, I do not want to violate it in any way. It is that good. It is just like, holy crap, you add just a little bit of citrus just to mellow it or just to bring it alive a little. Holy crap, Joel Gasson. So this month's cocktail of the month is going to be the easiest one I've made yet. Pour gin in glass. Add sliced lemon. Consume. Because, yeah, oh boy, it is... We might get to Ask John anything levels on this one. I warn you. I poured a lot in my glass, so I'm going to apologize in advance.
It's good to know what to get you before we do our next AJA, whenever the next bye week is.
Oh yeah, 100%. Next AJA, I will drink a glass of this before we open up the mics, and then while we have the mics open.
For me, I picked up from, I guess, also now kind of our friends at the Nokomis Craft Ales Company.
Right. Yes.
I picked up some Modern IPA, which is basically their take on a hazy IPA. Yeah, it's the one that comes in the orange can. It's been around for a little while now. Kind of a little on the drier side, but still got really good citrus notes. Just and a little bit of a bite to it, but not overly. Just a really good, easy drinking IPA, I think.
Well, that's exactly what you want for the summer, right? Mm-hmm. Like that's what you're needing in the summer. That nice hazy IPA, especially if you're into that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm. Which, of course, I am. John and I, we are both into Sickos football.
Yes, yes.
The ending of the Riders and Elks game, and it's funny, so to take you back behind the curtain a little bit, last week before we recorded that episode, it kind of got pushed later into the week a little bit due to some circumstances, and then there was a point where it was almost maybe not going to work that day, and we'll say, well, we'll just record after the game. And John had suggested maybe we record on Friday after the game. And I thought, we'll just go, and it worked out that we went the night we did. And then after that game on Thursday night, I was like, damn, I wish we were recording on Friday. Because it would have been, everything that happened in that moment would have been far fresher and far more ingrained in our brain still. Because I can tell you that the press box was quite boisterous in that final little bit, because we couldn't believe what we were witnessing.
And I love hearing that, because you used to hear all the times, like, no cheering in the press, but, like, you're not cheering. You're enjoying the chaos that is happening. I know that was...
and as a side, I agree, like, no cheering specifically for teams in the press box if you're a member of the press.
Right.
But you can cheer for storylines, at least internally.
Yes.
You can cheer for guys internally. But I'm okay with people who are at events, sporting events, because if you're at any sporting event, for the most part, most of us in sports media, and I'm using that umbrella term quite large to cover a lot of people here.
Especially us.
Yeah, especially us, not just sort of the mainstream guys.
Yes.
Most of us do this because we love it.
Yes, 100%.
And we love this part. I think especially a lot of us who cover the CFL, a lot of us who cover the CFL not for the mainstream outlets, definitely do it because we love it.
Yes.
And it's a sport that we love. So when something like that happens, when a moment that is probably going to live in CFL lore for quite some time happens, yeah, I have no problem if the press box is going nuts for various reasons.
Well,
and like full honesty, the final about 2 minutes of the game, I stood up. There was no one else around me. I'm like, well, I can't sit in this moment. This is too intense. This is insane what's going on here.
Yeah.
And then, of course, the Riders tied the game on the touchdown to Mitch Picton. They get the extra point to tie it, the 2-point conversion to tie it. And then we all start talking. I'm like, okay, Rouge to win from someone. We were expecting, with the way the storyline was going, and given the Elks, given the way the Elks had picked up like 1,200 Rouges in that game, we totally expected, okay, the Elks are going to come back. They're going to, Dean Faithful is going to attempt a 30-yard field goal and miss horribly, but still get the Rouge and win. Because that's pretty much what we thought was going to happen, because they left too much time on the clock. The Elks are going to win on a Rouge because that's what this game deserved. Instead, we got the
even
Rouge,
more of a sickos finish.
We got the Rouge of all Rouges, because it looks like the ball off the kickoff was kicked so hard and well that Brett Lowther is on the injury report this week with a leg injury because he fucking hammered that thing. I am sure he was trying to get it deep and give themselves a shot at maybe getting that Rouge. Like, I am convinced that Craig Dickinson told him this to fucking hammer it.
And I was thinking about this, actually, because let's face it, we've seen it there's two guys in the CFL that can do it. I've seen it when Sergio's mixed an extra point.
Yeah.
He'll just come out with this kickoff from hell and just nuke it. Same thing. It's almost like it's like when you're at the driving range, you're just trying to swing from your asshole, right? Lowther did the same thing, because let's face it, if you kick it deep, if you kick it regular deep, they're probably getting the ball at the 20.
Yeah.
Even if you try to hit a piss missile, which he does, and you kick it, let's say you just fuck it up so bad you kick it out of bounds, they've got it at the 40, right? So you're losing 20 yards on the potential to just hit an absolute stripe into the end zone. And again, I love that happened in a market like Saskatchewan.
Yeah.
I love that happened like Saskatchewan, Winnipeg, Edmonton, Calgary, like Hamilton, Montreal, one of your die-hard markets that understands the significance of that play. Because that's the thing. Crowd's going nuts when that ball's going into the end zone.
Yeah. Oh, because, all of a sudden, okay, the ball bounces at like the 10, I believe, just past the 10.
Yeah.
And it keeps rolling, and it keeps rolling, and it keeps rolling. All of us in the press box are like, what is happening? Like, we're all standing up, and we're just like, oh my God, what's happening? Those of us that are left disappointed because some people like had left for, because they have broadcast duties to do, or some people have already made their way downstairs to get ready to go to the locker room and all that sort of thing. And it was chaos to the nth degree. And I am just so happy that I was there to witness that, to be able to see this, and to all the fans that stuck it out. Because, you're right. I remember looking down at the west side, which is always the full side, and the place was just going bananas.
Yeah, and you can see it on the broadcast. And so this is where I teased it a bit, talking about a way around the Fraser curse. So I was fairly busy. Did I work late? Yeah, I worked late, which means I'm off work between 8 and 9 at my regular job. So I was quite busy at the regular job. So I would throw on the broadcast because there's no fucking way I'm listening to the radio broadcast of the Riders. So normally I got TSN going in the background, but naturally I'm using my computer, car deals and important stuff like that. So following the game on Twitter, talking to you, I'm like, I get home, it's like 8:00. I'm like, I'm not really this sounds like a dud. I'll just watch this on the PVR later and I can come up with my thoughts for the podcast. And then finally, with about 5 minutes left, everything at my house kind of settles down and I start doing dishes.
Yep.
I tuned in with 5 minutes left.
If you're a facilities manager at a warehouse and your HVAC system goes down, it can turn up the heat, literally. But don't sweat it, Grainger has you covered. Grainger offers over 1 million industrial-grade products for all your operations, including warehouse HVAC maintenance. And even better, they offer access to experts and fast delivery, so you and your warehouse can both keep your cool. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
I saw the drive, the tiptoe. Let's not forget the tiptoe catch on 3rd down that makes the Rouge possible.
Mm-hmm.
Like, Saskatchewan started deep in their own end zone. Trevor Harris, boom, tiptoe catch. This game's still going. I'm like, oh. And that's...
Don't forget that Trevor Harris actually scrambled and ran for 13 yards on a play.
That as well. A guy we've said, he's got cement legs. 13 yards. Like, this was unbelievable. I think at that point is when when it was officially upgraded from a Sicko's watch to a Sicko's warning. Now, for those that don't follow the Sickos committee, for one,
what's wrong with you?
For two, they're doing more for CFL marketing than CFL itself. It's a group of largely college football fans that are into this kind of dumb, chaotic football. One of the best follows on Twitter. It is still like the ultimate feather in my cap that for whatever reason they follow me. And great bunch of people that run that account. And so they're like, they have a watch and warning system. A Sicko's watch is in my interactions with them that night, they said, no. The Sicko's watch came on when that game was 3-3 at halftime. Yep. And then it became a Sicko's warning on that last drive because it was just a chaotic finish to the game and these guys were going nuts. And the only negative I see out of all this is you've got an account like the Sicko's committee, which is pretty well known, has a ton of followers on Twitter, tweets at the CFL. Hey, can we get the clip of this pretty please? Silence from the league.
Yeah.
From the socials. Like, I don't want to be negative on this podcast tonight.
What?
Tonight.
Oh, okay.
Just normally.
Apparently this Housecast gin has really changed you.
Well, I don't want to tee off of the league for 15 minutes because we got other shit to talk about tonight. Is more that. But the fact that the league can't lean into its own chaos is so dumb. Like, it's like, here's a highlight. Here's a highlight. Look, we changed our profile picture. Okay, game's over. We're going to bed now. Bye.
I think the clip I saw of the end of the Ottawa-Hamilton game where Crum almost ran for the touchdown at the very end, which I think all of us thought was going to get in. I saw that, I believe, on Sickos through CBS Sports Network.
Yes.
Getting their clip, not TSN or the CFL.
Exactly. It's like as soon as the game ends, the CFL social people and the TSN social people just like, okay, we're done. We've shown some highlight. See you guys next week. Like, that's not what we want. We want those exciting plays. Like you said, like Crum, you're right. I saw it in the Sickos because the Sickos were out there going like, hey, check it out. Another zany finish of the CFL this weekend. Like, if you took every tweet that the Sickos committee did and put it to the CFL, that's what you need to do. Like, just hire them. Like, oh my God. It was like, I'm glad that somebody's doing it. And then again, speaking of people doing this, so there's no highlights anywhere of that Rouge. No. TSN doesn't have it. The team doesn't have it, which I was a little surprised because I know, there's good people that work for the Riders. A little surprised at that. You know who first put it out there? Our friend, fifth string host of this podcast, Greg on Sports.
Yeah.
Like, you're getting beat by a fifth string host on a third-rate podcast. And yes, Greg has his own much better podcast. I just thought it'd be fun to say that. But, okay, that's enough about how badly the CFL does their social and their game promotion and everything like that. Let's continue with the happiest, most joyous game that either of us have laid eyes upon, that I was glad that I actually, I'll watch the end of this so I can talk to Gasson about it, and went, it's one of those, it's like you wash one dish, because I don't have a dishwasher at my place. You wash one dish, you put and the worst thing is I have to pick up the phone, swipe out of my Shaw app, text you, and then go back to watching the game. Like, it's a lot of work, but it was that good. Actually, that one I started with Siri, and I believe the first text to you was holy fucking shit, which led to Max going from the living room, Dad, don't say bad words. Because I was using Siri on my watch, so either way, just pure chaos. I absolutely loved it.
It was almost worth the first 58 minutes. Almost.
Yeah, those first 58 were bad.
And that doesn't as fun and as interesting and as chaotic and as memorable as those final 2 minutes were. The rest of that game was, I'm not going to say the worst game I've ever watched live in person covering this team, because there's been a lot of them and it's impossible for me to remember them all, especially the bad ones. You really try to forget about them.
Right.
But it's definitely up there. It ranks amongst the top of the worst games I've ever watched this team play in person or on TV. And
you can tell the vibe of that, especially when in a close game, you never see fans leave Mosaic early.
No.
Like, that is one thing. Even if it's a Thursday night, it's late, it's miserable outside. It was a beautiful Thursday night.
It was, yeah.
You never see fans leave early. But you and I were both talking how fans in a close game were going, I'm out of here. Like, that's bad.
Yeah, it was not aesthetically pleasing to watch. It was definitely not one of those games where you could say, "Oh, this was good defense." No, no,
it was bad execution on both sides.
It's bad execution on both sides, and the only thing that saved the Riders from losing that game was the fact that the Elks it up in the most Elksine way possible with the Rouge. And I'm not even slamming CJ Sims for this. That whole situation is just completely on the coaching staff to not make it 100,000% clear that ball under no circumstances goes in the end zone. I don't care if you kick it out of bounds at the 2, that ball does not go in the end zone.
No, and that's, you made that point. You texted me that even if it's Gizmo Williams back there, you're reminding Gizmo.
If I'm sure Craig Dickinson saying to Mario Alford, that ball does not go in the end zone.
100% he is. I think Mike O'Shea. I think Ryan Dinwiddie.
Probably every other coach. Maybe even Jason Maas is saying to Chandler Worthy, that ball does not go in the end zone.
I don't know if Jason Maas would. Okay, so we know for sure 7 out of the 9 CFL coaches would. The arrogant one and the terrible one. I can't say with full I hope Maas would. Can't say with full confidence he would. But we all know who didn't. Mm-hmm. Chris Jones sure didn't.
Yeah.
Oh, it's been a good week for watching arrogant dunk God.
But the concerning part is not so much that they had a bad game. Bad games
happen.
Bad games are going to happen. It's just another in a continuous trend of, especially under the Craig Dickinson era, of this team having bad games against bad teams. And again, those are still going to happen from time to time too. Like, the difference between a good team and a bad team in professional football is in the margins, like, for sure.
Yes.
This isn't Alabama playing the University of Massachusetts.
No.
Like there is legitimately very good players on both teams, and we're talking about, margins that are very small that are the difference between being good and bad in professional football. But regardless, every now and then, you would like to see this team, when they are playing a team that they should beat handily, actually beat them handily, because over at least the last 2 seasons, I don't remember many of them.
No. And let's compare that to my recent Winnipeg Blue Bomber watching experience since they've, been good. Winnipeg tends to do that. Like, you kind of start listening to a game and go, all right, listen, I'm going to mow the lawn, listen to the sexy tones of Derek Taylor walk me through this blowout win, and I'm going to watch it on TSN, and I'm going to drink something delicious. The Riders make it a heart attacks. Like, again, I'm unbiased. Like, I'm just watching this team to talk about them because I love football, right? And you're right. We can't talk about what a terrible job that Chris Jones and his coaching staff did at the end of that game without talking about the fact that you're right. This has been the team's penalties, which seem to have been cleaned up.
Yes.
I'll give Craig Dickinson credit for that.
Whatever they had last season seems to have been caught on by the Hamilton Ticats for whatever reason.
If only. I wonder if Garrett Marino just happened to walk through the building or something, because obviously he's never playing there. There you go. But we can talk about the terrible job done by Chris Jones and his coaches and not at least bring up this team's tendency to play down to its opponent. Mm-hmm. They'll play up to an opponent, which is what you want. Like, they
definitely have it both ways. Like, yeah. It's great that they are able to compete with the best teams in this league and not always make themselves look like fools. But on the other end of that, yeah, I mean, if you really want to establish yourself as a truly good team in a league, you gotta lay the wood sometimes to some teams you're supposed to.
No, and absolutely, you need to. And I think that maybe starts coming up Saturday night against Calgary. For the first time, I think, in my adult life, since I've been a teenager, I can say with confidence, here comes a Fraser curse. Calgary Stampeders are not that good this year. I'm just waiting for them now to win their next 7 in a row. But
I mean, Ryan Ballantyne says they're going to win their next 7, I'm sure, so...
Ballantyne says they're going to go 18-0 every year, no matter what.
That's the joke. Yeah, I know.
And then he does that with the Calgary Roughnecks, who he works through too. The Venn diagram of my broadcasting and Ryan Ballantyne is just a circle. But I would like to see, and by no means are we said, oh, this is must win. You need to get a victory here in July. No, but it would be nice to see. And I would feel for my Rider fan friends and the 5 of you that listen to this podcast to just see Saskatchewan beat up on a bad Calgary team, especially at home.
I agree with you. I don't. I said it before the start of the year. I did not have good vibes about this Calgary team. Mm-hmm. The offense is amongst the blandest I've ever seen from a team.
Yeah.
Like, worse than what we saw from Jason Moss here for the last 2 years. Worse than anything we've seen from Steve McAdoo, I would say at times.
I don't know. That Tino Sinceri-led offense was pretty bad, but that's because
that was just bad, not necessarily bland.
But it was kind of both at times.
Yeah, I mean, one kind of leads to another sometimes. But like, if you're ditching Bo Levi Mitchell for a guy, I think you would expect him to be able to complete a few more passes than he's been asked to do.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm a little harsher on that than, well, it was bad under Tino Sinceri. Well, yeah, it was Tino Sinceri. That's like if, the Red Blacks find themselves in a spot where they're stuck with Nick Arbuckle for the rest of the year because Crum doesn't work out, and now they got Tyrone Pigrome, who we all enjoyed in the preseason, so hopefully he turns out to be okay. But if, things go sideways there and they're stuck with Nick Arbuckle, then it's like, well, the offense will be what it'll be, right?
Yeah.
So you would expect a little more out of Jake Maier is kind of the point that I'm trying to make here. And
what he showed heading into this season, you did expect more. Like he's starting to look like more Stefan Lefors than Zach Collaros.
Yeah, so I mean, realistically, this is probably a game the Riders should win. Now, I don't think losing to Calgary, even in sort of a down state, is nearly as bad as losing to Edmonton.
No.
Like, this is still a well-coached team. Like, they still have a good coaching staff. They have some good players. They have a good defense. Like, they still have some good pieces that can make life miserable for you and lose a football game. Given the way these teams are going, I'm not expecting an offensive slugfest, so maybe, again, it may not be the most entertaining game we've ever seen, but this is definitely an opportunity for the Riders to say, hey, we are better than you now. And I think more importantly, this is an opportunity for the Riders to distance themselves from Calgary. Because, I mean, right now, Calgary has one win, 2 points in the season. Edmonton's at 0. So right now, if the Riders win then, I think they're up to then 8 points. They've got themselves a pretty good cushion on 4th in the West and already have the season series locked up against Calgary.
Yes, all of which would be massive going forward. So no hyperbole. This is not must win. This is not. But this was. Yeah, if you wanna take some stress off at the end of the year, then this is definitely one that you're gonna want.
And I guess on the other side of this, in fairness, we kind of thought that last year too when they were basically in this same boat record-wise, and we kind of saw what happened after that. But
that's things are starting to, a little. Hopefully, it's not history repeating. Hopefully, it's them changing.
And I would say this year it feels more like they've been building upward compared to last year, where it was like, okay, they were good for a little bit, but there wasn't really any. In retrospect, there wasn't really any place to go upward from there.
Yeah,
they kind of had plateaued this year. I think it's reasonable with a completely new offense to still expect more. The defense we know can still step it up a bit. The pass rush is a bit of a concern there. So how do they figure that out? Like there's little bits and pieces where they can still kind of nibble away at the edges a little bit to kind of take that next step forward.
Yeah, and put them into the.
I don't think they're BC, Winnipeg, Toronto. They're not in that tier. But whatever that next tier ends up being, which right now is kind of just them. I think they can easily secure themselves sort of into that. Okay, maybe they're not Grey Cup favorites, but with a few bounces, maybe they can make some noise in the playoffs.
Well, and that's exactly it. A win this weekend goes a long way in basically saying the CFL's got 4 good teams and everybody else is not very good. Everybody else is sort of bad, to be quite frank. So I still want to see a little bit. I like what Toronto's done early in the season. I still want to see a bit more out of Toronto, only because
that win over BC convinced me that they're good.
Yeah. 100%. Right. I meant I want to see a bit more of them playing BC, Winnipeg, Saskatchewan before I can really put them in where they stand in that good bad rankings. But you're right. With the league so far this year definitely has 3 teams. Saskatchewan could be 4, and then it's just kind of a poo-poo platter of everybody else. Pending what happens, of course, this Saturday, and us sitting here talking to Calgary like that almost assuredly means Calgary Stampeders are going to come out and kick ass just because I said they're bad. Not you, me.
Save on O'Reilly Brake Parts Cleaner. Get 2 cans of O'Reilly Brake Parts Cleaner for just $8. Valid in-store only at O'Reilly Auto Parts.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.